The school year ends, camp season begins, but parents are sending their kids off on buses unaware of the serious risks they could face. Here's Chris Van Cleve.
Every day, 60 school bus drivers get into accidents. That's about 22,000 bus crashes a year, injuring thousands of students. But the problems are much worse than just traffic accidents. Our CBS News investigation found a stunning lack of oversight of school bus drivers. On average, at least once a week, a driver is arrested for driving under the influence.
I caught a big whiff of alcohol.
Or child pornography.
And what was on that computer?
Some underage pictures.
Or even sexually assaulting a child.
And when I look into her eyes, I can still see it.
This New York couple, who didn't want to be identified, told us their special needs daughter was assaulted behind a church by her driver when she was 15.
He would pick her up, make her get out of the bus, and then do whatever he wanted to do.
The family says the driver, Ronaldo Vega, should never have been behind the wheel. He'd been arrested a year earlier on suspicion of child abuse, but was allowed to keep his job. The charges were eventually dropped, but Vega pleaded guilty to assaulting their daughter.
This shouldn't have even been an issue. He just shouldn't have been driving these kids.
School bus drivers have to get a commercial driver's license, but because few drive across state lines, many federal safety rules do not apply. So while drivers with disqualifying medical conditions would not be able to work for a company like Greyhound, they could drive a school bus. Transportation attorney Steve Gursten.
Truck drivers that are driving heads of lettuce or television sets actually have to meet higher safety standards than the people that drive our children on school buses.
This driver was busted for DUI in Connecticut, one of only 2 states keeping track of all drivers arrested on the job. 21 states told us no school bus drivers had been charged with DUI in the past 3 years, but we found at least one such arrest in each of those states.
There are no universal standards. So there's nothing that automatically will disqualify a school bus driver who, let's say, has an extensive criminal background or DUIs or has caused too many crashes.
Alexander Rodriguez was hired to drive a school bus in Tennessee, even though his background check flagged criminal charges in New Jersey for having a weapon and drugs in a school zone. A few years later, he pleaded guilty to the statutory rape of a 15-year-old student who rode his bus.
Parents assume when they put their children on a school bus that that driver is safe. These parents really need to be asking who's driving their children.
Complicating the situation, last year 90% of school districts reported a shortage of bus drivers. One of the largest school bus companies in the country, Durham School Services, has turned to Craigslist to find drivers, even calling former employees like Kelly Shane Hooper, who was hired despite being under investigation for multiple charges of child pornography.
I got a phone call from my old job. They were offering me my job back because they were short. $12.80 an hour. You can get up here quickly.
The school bus industry refused all of our requests for interviews. This child survived. The driver stayed on the job, leaving parents wondering who's watching out for their children. Chris Van Cleve, CBS News, Rochester, New York.